If you've ever fallen asleep next to your child at bedtime again and woken up groggy, feeling behind and quietly resentful, this is for you. Of course, you love your child deeply and want them to feel safe. You also desperately want time to be an adult, not just mum. Time to scroll in peace, to connect with your partner, to just exist without someone needing you. The tension is real. And those two things, your child's needs and what you need, can feel like they're in constant conflict until somewhere along the way you may have started believing, if I meet my child's needs properly, mine have to wait. Or if I choose myself, I'm abandoning them. And that belief can quietly turn bedtime into a battleground inside you, not with your child, with yourself. And it might look like lying down next to them just for a few minutes, just to help them settle, and then waking up 2 hours later. And the kitchen's still a mess, you haven't washed up, your partner's already asleep, and you're lying there in the dark feeling angry, guilty, both. Angry, you can't even have an evening to yourself. And guilty that you're angry about meeting your child's needs. And the worst part is not knowing how to fix it. Because when you do try to leave before they're fully asleep, they cry, they call you back, they get upset, and you think, well, but they need me, I can't leave. So you stay again, and the cycle continues. Now, what's important to know is that the problem isn't whether you stay or whether you leave. The problem is when the decision isn't clear inside you. Because when you stay out of guilt or fear or confusion, that's when resentment builds. And when you leave without a plan or support for your child, that's when the guilt eats at you. But when you make a clear, intentional decision, either way, everything can shift. Just imagine a bedtime that didn't mean stumbling out of your own exhaustion, or choosing between connection or rest, or waking up angry or guilty. What I've learned, both in my own life and working with hundreds of mums, children often ask for reassurance through their behaviour, especially when they're tired or wired or sensing separation, all of which usually happen at bedtime. And that doesn't mean that their needs are too much. It also doesn't mean that yours don't matter. Both sets of needs are valid, even when they're in conflict. Your child's need to be reassured is valid, and your need for time to yourself is also valid. The tension you're feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong with you or your child. It's a sign that you're trying to hold two real, legitimate needs at the same time without support, and that's exhausting. Now, sometimes staying is the right choice. There will be nights when your child genuinely needs you close, when they're unsettled or going through a developmental leap or just having a hard day. And on those nights, staying is the loving choice. Sometimes leaving is the loving choice, even if it brings protest. Because your child also needs a mum who isn't running on empty. They need you to show them that your needs matter too. And they need to learn gently, with support over time, that they can settle without you right there every single time. And there are 3 ways to help make this shift. First, plan ahead for reassurance. If you know you need to leave early tonight, maybe you're just completely drained or something's come up, give them extra connection earlier. Top them up before bedtime even starts. Extra snuggles on the sofa, a longer story, maybe more giggles during dinner. And it's interesting because putting that extra time in beforehand helps the separation at bedtime feel less scary. The second thing you can do is learning to tolerate their distress without interpreting it as harm. This is the big one. You know, your child might cry when you leave, they might call you back, they might protest, and your brain will be shouting, see, you're hurting them, you're abandoning them. And please don't misunderstand me here. I'm not talking about cry it out here. Leaving a distressed infant or child is not okay. But offering your child structured support to soothe them and still leave is allowed. Because them feeling disappointed is not the same as being abandoned. They're not in danger, they are loved, they are safe. They're just disappointed, and that's okay. You can hold the boundary and still be a loving mum. And the third thing that you can do to help the shift is soothe yourself into claiming the time you need. This is where many mums do get stuck, because even when you know logically that it's okay to leave, your nurturing instinct is still firing. And you might feel guilty or anxious, like you're doing something wrong. So you have to soothe yourself through it. And again, obviously, if your child is in distress, tend to their needs. But when they're just about managing, remind yourself, I'm not abandoning them, I'm making a clear, loving decision. Looking after me means that I can better look after them. So breathe, ground yourself, and claim the time you desperately need. And I'll be honest, I've been there. My child needed me to sleep next to them to settle for a long, long time. And I regularly fell asleep so tired and waking up a couple of hours later, dragging myself to bed. And it was hard, you know, waking up all groggy, knowing there's evening jobs still to be done, and feeling like you've lost another evening. It's tricky. And most of the time, I actually chose to do that because for me, it was more important to help them settle. And I also knew they'd grow out of it. But on the days where I really couldn't, when I desperately needed that time back, I had to learn to do exactly what I just described. Plan ahead, give extra reassurance earlier, tolerate their distress without panicking, and soothe myself into making a clear, firm decision for me. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't always perfect. I often muddled through, but in the end it worked. And it didn't damage my child. It taught them that both our needs mattered. So if you're tired of holding this tension alone, if you're done with the cycle of guilt and resentment and exhaustion, my Calm Mum community is now open at the early joiners lifetime rate until the 31st of January. This is a space for mums who want support to hold both sets of needs without it becoming a battle of yours versus theirs. Inside, you'll get weekly Q&As where you can bring your specific bedtime struggles and get real-time support, a library of resources on managing bedtime boundaries and your own nervous system, and a community of mums who get it, who aren't judging you for wanting time to yourself. The early joiner rate is £22 a month. It's going up to £37 a month from February. And it's a lifetime rate, meaning you get it at that lower rate forever. The link is in the description, and I hope to see you there. Because bedtime doesn't have to be a battleground. Your needs and your child's needs can both matter. And you don't have to figure this out alone. I'll see you in the next video.